Boxingego's Showtime all access review for Spence versus Crawford. Let's get there. Let's get unpacked. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxingego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. So I just watched Showtime, Spence versus Crawford, the epilogue, aka the conclusion. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel. Let me start off by saying, in my personal opinion, Showtime, they gotta win another epic Emmy for their documentary work with programs like this in terms of sports programming. For next year, when they come out with the Emmy, this was very well shot. The cinematography was beautiful, and it's a good storytelling, good scenery. There was a couple angles that we didn't get to see because they were behind the scenes with Showtime cameras, and some of the information was more privy to the locker room area, which, you know, a lot of YouTube media and stuff doesn't have access to. So it was beautifully put together by Showtime. I want to start off by saying that, and I hope they win some kind of Emmy for this work. I know they won it in the past for, I believe, Floyd Mayweather versus Canelo, all access, but this was very well put together. In case you don't have Showtime, make sure you watch it. They have it on YouTube available to you, at least as of me recording this video. You can watch it on YouTube, so make sure you guys check it out. So I want to get to my thoughts. Full disclosure, I have not rewatched the fight. I ordered the pay-per-view. I watched it in real time. Of course, I did my Boxingego watch party, so I haven't had a chance to rewatch it or like DVR it or whatever. I just watched the epilogue, which gave me some thoughts for this video. Now, based on how the fight played out, I really think there's not too much to break down. I think it was a bad night in the office for Errol Spence Jr. And I firmly believe this, and I'm just giving my honest opinion. I think it was Crawford was very locked in, very determined, and he just wasn't gonna lose on that given night. He just looked like extremely focused and locked. Errol Spence, on the other hand, there's, in hindsight, a bunch of things that I really and truly think he could have and should have done different. And I'm gonna explain those in this video. Now, I'm just giving my thoughts. It doesn't change the results, because I know some people say, oh, you're making excuses. I'm just telling you my thoughts. You can take it for what it's worth, or you can scram. Don't really matter to me. I've given Crawford his props. He had a hell of a performance. He looked very sharp. He proved me wrong, proved other people wrong. You know I'm not the only one in boxing that thought Errol Spence was gonna win, but I do think Errol Spence had a really bad night in the office, and he didn't do himself any favors. What do I mean? So basically what I mean is I think Errol Spence is guilty of kind of sipping his own Kool-Aid to a degree where he had the ball rolling. He had done the harder work. He did the heavy lifting, so to speak, in the division. And he may have very well underestimated Terrence Crawford. Crawford is also a guy who came up in weight. And I think Crawford, something about his frame or something about it is giving guys confidence until they get in the ring with him and they're seeing that, all right, he's really strong. He's really accurate. He's really focused. He's really capitalizing on people's mistakes. So I think there was perhaps a bit of underestimation when I see how it all played out. Like, he thought Terrence Crawford, like, this is a guy that started at lightweight. And I know a lot of fighters personally, right? And this is how a lot of fighters truly think. Like, I'll talk to fighters off record, and the fighters will be like, nah, he too little for me. He too little for me. And it'll be a great fighter, but in their mind, they're like thinking, ain't nobody coming from a lower division than me and finna see me. Like, I think if we were gonna move up to the heavyweight division, I think there's a lot of heavyweights that they probably feel that way about Alexander Usyk. Like, you talk to the heavyweights that are confident. You got guys like Joe Joyce and guys like Daniel Dubois and Anthony Joshua. They're probably looking at Usyk like, this dude from cruiserweight, he ain't finna beat me. He's too little, you know, when they're used to fighting guys that are 6'5", 6'6", you know, things like that. And then you get in the ring with Usyk and he has his bag of tricks and his own style. And then you find out he's hitting harder than you think maybe, or the well-placed shots are more stinging because let's say there's a sloppier heavyweight that hits harder, but Usyk probably has better punch placement, more speed behind it, you know, some movement, athleticism. So, you know, in boxing, it's the punches that you don't see. So I think people have to beware and be weary just because a guy's coming up. If they're a world-class fighter, you know, you can't underestimate them. And I think that's happened with Usyk. Joshua's 6'6", and I think the world of boxing, a lot of people didn't give Usyk a chance. And here's the thing. Usyk, when he first moved up to the division, he was supposed to fight Tyrone Sprong, and they said he failed a test, so they replaced him with Chaz Tablespoon. And I don't think Usyk looked that great in his first fight at heavyweight. And then he went on to fight Derek Chisora, and I don't think that he looked that great in that fight. But then when he fought Anthony Joshua, now that was different. He put it all together on that given night. And I think that's the same thing that happened with Crawford and Spence. When you have a fighter, these fighters are defiant by nature. So when their back is against the wall and they're up against it, and there's a formidable foe on paper in front of them, they're really training and they're pulling out all the stops, and they're not cutting any corners because they're looking at that opponent like Ivan Drago. So you're gonna train like it's Ivan Drago. And I think that might be what happened. If we're judging Crawford based on some of his other fights at welterweight, you look at the fight with Jose Benavidez, you look at the fight with Mean Machine, and you're like, all right, if those dudes, you know, Jose Benavidez, I was at that fight, he was winning early rounds. It was competitive for the first 5 rounds or so. You look at guys like Mean Machine who dropped Crawford, you're looking at that. And then you look at all the things that Errol Spence has done. You're like, all right, Errol Spence is going to definitely give him the toughest fight. And then, you know, Crawford, he heard all the clamoring. He heard all the people against him. He heard everything. And it looks like he was just locked in. Versus Errol Spence, you know, maybe he was feeling himself in terms of, you know, this little dude ain't that strong like they saying. He just ain't fought nobody. So looking back, I feel like Crawford kind of had that advantage because Errol had the reputation and the body of work, and he was damaging guys' faces. So Crawford knew that he needed to be sharp, right? Versus Errol Spence, myself included, a lot of people thought Terrence Crawford's resume, especially in the welterweight division, was lacking. So he's probably approaching it from like, I'm much bigger and I'm Olympian, I'm stronger. And then he got in there with Bud and found out how strong Bud was. But for me, looking at the fight, how it played out, I still think, I don't know. Errol Spence, he was very classy in defeat, and Terrence Crawford was classy in victory. You love to see it. But I still feel like it was just a bad night in the office set up by Crawford, but also some things outside of the ring where Errol Spence didn't give himself the best fighting chance looking back at how it all played out. What do I mean? Errol Spence was off a 15-month layoff. So Crawford is a great fighter. We knew he was a great fighter, and he's also athletic. So it could just very well be the style matchup is horrible. But even with that, I've seen so many fights where there's a variance or disparity in terms of the style, and one person's more athletically gifted, better counterpunching, and the fight didn't look so one-sided. You see what I'm saying? So again, credit to Terrence Crawford, but I also think Errol Spence, he didn't do himself any favors, and he did himself a disservice by coming and fighting a great fighter on a long layoff. And Errol Spence kept telling you, hey, there's no tune-ups. I don't do tune-ups. And he stood on that, and then now it came back to potentially haunt him. And I said it before, if you look at a tune-up, why would anyone do a tune-up in general? You would do a tune-up to prepare you for a big fight, or possibly if you're coming off of a loss. Like when Adrian Broner lost to Maidana, his next fight was a tune-up. When Amir Khan got knocked out by Danny Garcia, his next fight was a tune-up. Oftentimes where you bring guys up in weight and stuff like that, Errol Spence been through a lot, with the car wreck and the detached retina, and again, underestimating Crawford possibly and feeling himself. He probably thought, I'm Mr. No Tune-Ups. I don't need a tune-up. But he couldn't get his timing right, and Crawford came out in a style. I think two things that caught Errol Spence off guard was Crawford's speed and how fast Crawford was able to comfortably and confidently come out with the faster start. We've always been accustomed to seeing Crawford with a slow start, but he knew that he couldn't give Errol Spence any momentum in this particular fight, so he just came out and just gunned it. Immediately he's doing 0 to 60, right? He didn't wait. The other thing that was brilliant from Crawford, which made this a masterclass, is I told you guys, even though I picked Errol Spence, I told you Crawford, to have success, he's going to have to win the southpaw battle. And in this fight, that's exactly what he did. He didn't even give Errol Spence an opportunity to get a look at him as a right-hander, and that was smart for him. I think that he got a faster start, created a knockdown by the second round, and he didn't even give Errol Spence an opportunity to look at him from an orthodox standpoint. Because if you look at Crawford fights, Crawford, sometimes he gets touched up as a right-hander, and I told you I think he's really a southpaw who can fight right-hander more than a right-hander who can fight southpaw. I think the southpaw position is where he really gets busy, and that's his dominant side, right? Because when you're ambidextrous, more often than not, both sides aren't equally good. You're probably going to be better in one stance or another, even though you can technically fight out of both stances. So Crawford, him and his team, they definitely did their homework, study Errol Spence Jr. And I think looking back, seeing how it all played out, Errol Spence was perhaps a little bit too nonchalant. They kind of told you the game plan and told you what it was. We're going to break him like Kunta Kinte. Bud's a slow starter. They kind of gave the game plan up. If you listen to the build-up and the pre-fight stuff. Now, in addition to that, the long layoff and the underestimation and different things that you can kind of see on the All Access, Terrence Crawford's hand speed and his speed in general, his quickness. Crawford got to be one of the best counterpunchers in the whole sport of boxing, and he's also one of the best finishers in the sport of boxing. That was on full display. But the other issue that people like Deontay Wilder and I think a couple other fighters said, they felt that Errol Spence looked a bit dry and he was a bit drawn and a bit weight drained. And it's ironic because I thought Crawford had a hard weight cut and he looked kind of drained and stuff, but whatever he did in that 24 hours, he replenished well, and it didn't affect his power, it didn't affect his athleticism or speed. Meanwhile, Errol Spence almost looked like a ghost. It looked like a version of Errol Spence. And I'm not even talking about just what Crawford was doing. Like Errol Spence, even Bomac said post-fight, he was basic and he was slow. But even if you think he's basic and slow, I feel like he was molasses slow. He looked even slower. So I'm curious to see what the sacrifice costed Errol Spence. And that's why he's probably saying, hey, I would love the rematch, especially at 154. It sounds like Errol Spence perhaps can't just make the weight anymore. And especially, and he didn't make any excuses, which is great. But looking back at it, this was a miscalculation by him and his team. He could have easily fought Keith Thurman. He could have easily took a tune-up and really fought anybody. Castano, which would have been a rematch from the amateurs, or even a Crawford fight, and took the first one at 154 and just say, I'm not doing it for undisputed, because I'm moving up and I'm relinquishing what I got here. You can stay at 47, but I'm moving to 54. And this is part of the game. Crawford negotiated for this particular fight, and he got things that he wanted, like the coin toss, and The weight was at 147. Errol Spence said in this epilogue that, hey, no excuses. I agreed to the weight. I made the weight, but at what cost? So I truly believe that Errol Spence, he just gave up too much ground trying to make the fight. Like, I get it that you want to make the fight, but if you're the A side and you did 50,000 seats with Mikey Garcia, 30,000+ with Ugas, et cetera, you had the better pay-per-view numbers, and then to appease boxing Twitter and to appease boxing fans, Errol Spence did something which is good because we got a resolution and we got results, like an end result, but it's bad for his career just because he got dropped 3 times in a one-sided fight. And this was out of all your fights, this is literally the one fight that was super important that you win to keep on trucking and keep your belts and stuff like that. So I would love to be a fly on the wall to see what his team was saying, because he admitted that his team wanted him to walk away from Crawford negotiations. So Crawford, he played it smart in terms of the strategy stuff, because the negotiations strung out, whether it was intentional or unintentional, they strung out. Crawford was able to fight in December and get a fight in and make sure he was crispy and sharp, go through the process of cutting weight and stuff. Errol Spence, it was a shot in the dark. He hadn't had to make weight since the Ugas fight in April. He didn't have the activity. He probably underestimated Crawford. Crawford's just a damn good fighter in general. So you put all these things collectively together and it creates a perfect storm, and that's what we've seen. So in the All Access, the epilogue, Errol Spence was completely gutted. He was like, man, this how it feels. You could tell, he said he's peed off, and it looked like his mom was like, it's just like the Olympics, what I told you. And there was some kind of inside dialogue conversation about when he lost in the Olympics. But great work from Showtime in producing this. The surprising thing is how one-sided the fight looked to be. I have my guesses on different things, and Errol Spence not making the excuses, but I have my own theories on kind of what went wrong or whatever the case is. The other thing that I noticed was Crawford had not a scratch on his face. Like, he was at Top Golf and with Nick Cannon and Nelly, and everybody was congratulating him on a hell of a performance, and his face looked the same as when he was walking into the venue post-fight. So Errol Spence, being a big puncher, a guy who's damaged other people's faces and orbitals and stuff like that, he just couldn't get the shots off, or they didn't have the same steam or something on that given night and Crawford's defense and ring IQ, but all these things collectively, Crawford didn't really wear any of the markings of like being in a big fight. Even in the Kell Brook fight, he had some bruising under his eye. He had a mouse under his eye. So beautiful stuff from Terrence Crawford. At the end of the day, this is boxing, and this is what you sign up for, and you got to play it smart. That's why, like I said, I respect Floyd Mayweather. He's a boss, and he knew he's a boss. He's never going to give up what he's worked so hard for. He's not going to let Canelo Alvarez dictate the full weight class, or, have someone catch him lacking on a long layoff or different things. He's not going to. Imagine Floyd Mayweather. He didn't even give Manny Pacquiao a coin toss. If he wants to walk out last, then he's walking out last. And I think Errol Spence, when you look back at it and you see how it all played out, he gave up a lot of his leverage that he had earned. And then now it's been taken by Crawford's beastie performance, right? And then there was even a scene where Terrence Crawford knocked Errol Spence down, and he's talking trash to Jermell Charlo in the crowd. So with moments like that, Crawford's legend grows, and it's just like, wow, this dude, who is this kid from Nebraska? You know what I mean? Because he's dropping the fighter that's never been dropped at that point 2 or 3 times, in the fight. And then he's trash talking his stablemate and his buddy, and he still has the breath and the energy to do all this stuff. So, it just makes Crawford look God tier. Errol Spence, in my honest opinion, in closing, I think he also put himself at a disservice. If you couldn't make the weight and you agreed to the weight and you don't want to make excuses, then it is what it is. But just having the world see how it all kind of played out, the 3 knockdowns, We seen you can be hurt and stuff like that. Psychologically, Terrence Crawford is going to have a major advantage even at 54 because he's going to feel like I have his number, you know, and then you're going to have to come with that emotional baggage and being gutted and being despondent and all these types of things and feelings of not being a champion anymore. So even if you do pursue the immediate rematch, it's kind of a do or die fight, and you don't really give yourself a bunch of time to learn and embrace it unless you try to rematch him later in his career and you just bypass and just drop the rematch clause, you know? But again, fighters are defiant. They're gonna do what they want to do. I think, again, like I've been saying throughout this video, I think Errol's pride kind of got in the way. His pride wouldn't let this fight go. And I'm not saying it should. He should want to fight for undisputed. However, if certain things couldn't be met and it was costing you to be out the ring and different things, and it was going to be this hard for you to make weight, whatever the case may be, then that's what you have to consider, and you have to move accordingly and strategic. And you never give your ops, you never give your enemy this type of gain or advantages. Back in the day, if it was Marvin Hagler and he was the A side, he picking the ring size, he's picking the venue, he's picking the glove size. You got to do everything at his preferred weight. And I remember hearing Floyd Mayweather talk about it when he later became the A side. He said, when I fought Oscar De La Hoya, he picked the ring size, the glove size. He was the golden boy. He got like 67% of the pie. I got 33% of the pie, etc. So he had the lion's share of money. The crowd was for him. He got top billing. It said De La Hoya Mayweather. And I just feel fighters work too dang hard to give that up. And now it's too late because Errol Spence gave it up. As you can see in this great all-access epilogue, he gave it all up. And then now Crawford claimed it by beating him. And now, you know, he gets to reap the benefits of his hard work and a hard training camp and kind of put the rivalry to bed for the time being and say, hey, I'm the #1 welterweight. Yeah, I'm 2X undisputed. So Crawford, credit to him. He played it smart, and then he showed up on fight night and did the rest. While Errol Spence, he has to rebuild and recover. And I think pride kind of made those decisions for him, whereas he could have just fought Keith Thurman and then try to fight Crawford after that, or moved up if you absolutely can't make weight. But it is what it is. Fighters are stubborn. There's two ways people learn, the hard way or the harder way. Excellent programming by Showtime, Epilogue. Let me know if you watched it. It's kind of a sad episode too, if you are a fan of Errol Spence, just to see him, he's just completely gutted after the loss. And that's how it always is when you see the fighters lose. You know, Caleb Plant, when he lost to Canelo and stuff like that, it's hard. The fighters work 8, 12-week camps and away from the family, abstaining from sex, all types of stuff like that, to lose, and you lose your titles. You know, it's rough stuff. Let me know how I did in this video, and I'm out. We unpack. Introducing Super Thanks. Right here on the official Boxingego YouTube. Super Thanks allows you, the viewers, to show a little bit of extra gratitude, which enables me as a full-time content creator to push out the content you need in the world of boxing. Underneath all the videos, you will see a heart with the $sign in it. You can enter any amount that you find suitable as a super thanks. A brand new interactive and colorful way to get your comments highlighted and noticed by not only myself, but other people on the YouTube platform. Super thanks, a unique and cool way to show and applaud us full-time content creators. Hopefully you guys enjoy the content. Super thanks. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.